All right, everybody, we got a huge artist in here today. Alexander, 23, is joining us. Hey, man, thanks so much for being here.
What up, dude? Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dude, you've had some crazy success over the past couple of years. So I am very excited to hear your story, hear your magic formula. and before we even talk about that and your new single "Cry Over Boys" and even your new EP that's coming up, why don't you take us all the way back, and how'd you get into music to begin with?
Well, first of all, thank you. Appreciate that and appreciate the introduction. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this since I was, conscious enough to know what I wanted to do. I remember seeing my dad play guitar and being like, I need to do that. Like immediately, I was like, I need to try that. I tried it. I hated it because my teacher was too strict. I tried it again like a year later, and that was kind of it. It was a love affair. And so, yeah, I think kind of where my story diverges a bit from the typical like kid in his bedroom playing guitar is I think fairly early on, I recognized that, I want to keep getting better at guitar. I want to practice. I want to be able to shred, but I really want to write songs. Like that's what I really, really want to do. So I was fortunate enough to identify that fairly early on and played in a bunch of bands in high school. And then this is the Spark Notes version, but I went to college for engineering. And at college met a few people who I ended up playing in a band with, dropped out of school. We toured, got signed, got dropped, whole typical label gambit. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I'll take a break from making my own stuff. That could be nice. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to be a producer and a writer for other people. That didn't last very long. I enjoyed it, but I kind of just felt this itch to get back to making my own music. And that's when Alexander 23 was born.
Yeah, a couple things that I'd love to hear more about. One is that you kind of said you decided that you wanted to be a songwriter. It was like, I had a guitar, I'm playing guitar, like every, teenage kid. It's like, yeah, everyone wants to be Slash or something like that. But you decided. So what effect do you think that had on how you moved forward?
I think it just allowed me to, more than anything, just to get that experience under my belt and get some of those terrible songs out of the way a little bit early on. Not that I'm like the greatest songwriter in the world now, but whenever people ask me for songwriting advice, for me it's fairly simple. You just can't be afraid to suck. If you're afraid to suck, you're not going to end up writing the best songs ever.
Right.
Because I think it's kind of this grand illusion that your favorite artists only, they never miss. It's like they never miss because of two reasons. First of all, they don't put out their bad songs. No one does.
Sure,
like
exactly.
And second of all, once you're a fan of someone, you've kind of self-identified as someone who likes what they do. So I was kind of fortunate to realize that, early on and really try and hone in on songwriting. I think for me too, I mean, songwriting still is the way I kind of mediate my feelings, and it's super cathartic for me. And I felt that from like the first time I started writing songs. So there is an aspect of just like I almost depend on it in a strange way as well.
Yeah. And I think I have to remind myself of this from time to time, that even some of the best artists in the world, I have songs that I don't like, or I think are mediocre. I just
Totally.
skip them, but you forget about those songs because you never listen to them and you don't identify them with the artist. You usually identify songs you like with an artist. And so they may have a million songs. The Rolling Stones might have a million songs I don't know the names of, or I don't particularly think are that great, but I love the songs that I do love, and I love the Rolling Stones for those songs.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's actually one of the really positive things about the streaming era is you do get to kind of cherry pick as you please, and you can love an artist for the side of them that you love without having to like fully devote yourself to them, which I think, has its cons, but also has its pros, as we're seeing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've told some friends that I listen to more music now than I ever have, because of streaming. But a negative side effect of that is often I have a playlist of hundreds of songs, and I know songs that I like, but I'm not as good about memorizing all the names of artists anymore because it's just all singles now, or
our artists, become songs in a strange way.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like at the very tipping point. I'm at the inflection point as far as my age of like the music industry, where I kind of saw the last bit and experienced the last bit of the old guard, but also kind of as an artist came up in this new era.
Right.
And so there's pieces of me that are just incredibly nostalgic and really do miss like, you know, buying a CD and living with that CD and just like
Totally. Yeah.
worshiping that CD. But
Yeah.
it's also really cool as an artist now to just be able to get to like fling out singles and see what people connect to and get to move on quicker if it doesn't connect and to get to really stretch it out if it does.
Totally. Yeah. You can just record a single and put it out. You don't have to write a whole album now before you're
Yeah.
ready to put something out. So I agree. I agree. There's definitely I loved going to record stores, putting on headphones, discovering new music that way. And then, like you said, living with that CD. You put it in your car and then
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
only thing you play for the next couple of weeks or something. That
Totally. Yeah.
album just over and over. But now we have an embarrassment of riches of songs that we can listen to any song we want, you know, like anytime. So I
Definitely.
think I
But
prefer it this
I
way.
I do see. I feel like you know, you've obviously seen it, but like vinyl is really getting romantic again in such a
Yeah.
cool way to me. And I think like just like, you know, as everything does, everything is kind of cyclical in some capacity, and I think music will prove to be like that as well. And I think the value of an album is going to rise again at some point.
100%, totally agree. And that's one of the reasons vinyl's grown, because for those real audiophiles, those real fans, they want something physical that they can hold on to and look at and put
Totally.
on and not not even have the option to fast forward to the next track.
And it sounds different too, right? When you can hear something like being played, there's something so warm and nice about that that I think
Yeah.
will never go out of style. I mean, you hear people emulating it with, you know, with tape emulator. I do it in like every song. I'm throwing noise on it too, and it's just like, let's get back to the source here. You know, sometimes you just got to put on a record and feel it going around the track.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it over and over that vinyl supposedly is the best sound, and I don't really know if it's true or not. It feels true, but I don't know if it's just psychological, you know, if it's just the warmth of hearing the record spin with a little bit of the crackle, just like,
I I
you know.
think it kind of embodies some of the reason, obviously not the entire, but people love going to shows. I think there's something nice about something physical being represented in something that means something to you. And so there's like a ritualistic aspect of putting on a vinyl that um, will always outshine, you know, streaming in some way, at least for some people.
That's so true. The ritual of it, you know, the extra time that you have to put into it and the motions you have to make you respect it more.
Yeah. Well, I think especially because people's lives are more inconsistent than ever. Like I feel this too, whereas like my like morning coffee is taken on a life now. You know, it's like not only do I love coffee and I'm definitely addicted to it at this point, but it's also like it's my little piece of consistency for my morning, you know, and
Yeah.
people gravitate towards stuff like that.
Totally. I feel like you said, it's people get addicted not only to the substance, like you said, coffee, caffeine, but the process, you know, just like
Totally, yeah.
people you know, alcoholics. I feel like sometimes you just they need to be holding something and sipping on something,
Yeah.
you know, people who smoke cigarettes, sometimes they just need something, you know, near their mouth,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
sometimes a toothpick or something like that helps bridge the
definitely
gap.
becomes an oral fixation. Yeah, and you definitely see it in alcoholism, people ordering, you know, just like seltzers in a
Yeah.
similar class, you know, and yeah, I mean,
I've-
I'm very fortunate to not have that issue, but I definitely can draw, you know, much smaller parallels in my own life.
Sure, sure. So how old were you when you started kind of writing music? Were you around like 13? I think I read.
Yeah, I think I was like 11 or 12. I remember the first full song that I wrote extremely well because it was I'd broken up with my seventh grade girlfriend and I'd immediately realized like, oh, I've made this tremendous mistake.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I remember being by the water fountain with her and she could definitely verify the story and being like, hey, you know, I messed up. I want you back. And I thought it was going to be that easy. And little did I know she was going to jumpstart my music career by saying, you know, if you want me back, you're going to have to prove that to me.
Uh-huh.
And so as a, you know, an idiot 12-year-old boy, I thought, well, what does that mean? What skill could I possibly offer this person
Uh-huh.
that would, you know, allow her to emotionally let me back in her life? And obviously my thoughts were not that clear back then, but I think that's, you know, what I was kind of getting towards. And so I went home and I wrote a song that will never be heard by anyone except it's still on my parents' hard drive for sure.
Uh-huh.
and I got her back. And I think that was a kind of a slippery slope for me, where I was like, well, one, I enjoyed this process. It allowed me to kind of express myself in a really positive way. And two, this worked, so I'm not
Yeah,
mad at this,
you were rewarded for it. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. And kind of ever since then, it's become, an increasing obsession in my life.
Yeah. Do you remember some of your early inspirations, like what you were listening to, what might have kind of some of your early roots into music, which might have inspired you?
Yeah. I mean, John Mayer was the biggest one. I think just on a songwriter level, he is just like a god to me. But for me, as someone who started with just, guitar before I was songwriting, on a guitar level, he's just obviously, one of the most proficient ever in my opinion, at least. And so to kind of see that blend of musicality with really clever songwriting, that was incredibly influential for me as a kid. And now, honestly, I mean, I literally listened to John Mayer from like midnight to 1 a.m. last night, the same song over and over again, just like reading the lyrics, being like, how did he put this here? And this is just like studying it at this point.
He's great. I had the pleasure of seeing him a few years ago. It was kind of a one-off show he did with Dave Chappelle here. You're in Los Angeles too.
I saw that show in Vegas.
Oh, were you? Okay,
one of the best nights of my life.
Maybe it wasn't a one-off. I think it was a two-off then. Maybe.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think he did like one night in Vegas, one night in LA at
exactly
what's that Oakland? Forum? Yeah, at the Forum. Yeah, and so it was my first time seeing John Mayer live, but he was just kind of doing these little teases because him and Chappelle were just kind of riffing, telling stories and stuff. And then he would kind of go into a song here and there. And you were just like, oh, do more, but it was way cheaper than the typical John Mayer show. So I couldn't argue. It was a bargain still, especially with Dave Chappelle there. But yeah, he's great. And it's funny you mention him because when you were talking about songwriters versus guitar players, he had a great conversation in an interview I saw where he said someone once asked him, is he a guitar player or is he a songwriter? And he actually said the opposite of you. He said, I identify as a guitar player, but he's a great songwriter too.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of just like pick your poison. Like maybe he identifies as a guitar player who, expresses his guitar playing through song. And I, a lot of times identify as a songwriter who expresses their songwriting through guitar. So it's kind of two roads to the same destination in a strange way.
Well, now that you mentioned John Mayer, I mean, your music does have a real soothing vibe to it, and his voice and his kind of bluesy guitar, he kind of goes in that direction as well. So I could see some of that inspiration, and maybe the fact that the first song you had to write was to woo a girl back. Maybe that puts you down that path. So tell us a little bit about your playing and your writing music. And then you get into college, and how do you meet these guys that you link up with in college who kind of kick it all off for you?
So
because I know you were playing in bands too, so but it sounded like you said college was kind of one of the tipping points.
High school, all of high school I was playing in bands and also writing my own music and kind of just figuring out what I liked and what I didn't like and what felt right and what didn't. And I got to school, like I said, not for music, and was introduced through a mutual friend from Chicago to someone named Andrew, who actually is my manager today, but we'll get to that part of the story. Who was the guitar player in a band. And, we just like instant best friends, like we just started playing every single day, hanging out, writing music, listening to music, talking about music. It just became an obsession for both of us individually and then, collectively. And he was in a band, and I slowly kind of started writing with the band, getting more integrated. But the problem was there was already two guitar players. And so they were like, hey, we want you to come tour with us, but you got to play the drums. And I was like, well, I don't really, I'm okay at the drums, but I'm not great. And they're like, well, you got to learn. And I was like, well, would I rather stay in school or would I rather, practice drums 6 hours a day until I get good enough? And I obviously chose the latter. And I bought a shitty drum set from Craigslist and put it in the basement of my house in Philly at the time, and just hammered away, until I didn't suck, and that was kind of the origin story of my role in the band.
So how was that going from like a songwriter to kind of because I feel like it's liberating sometimes going from like you're the main person to, you know, writing and music, and then you kind of have multiple roles, but it can be liberating to be like, this is my one job in the band now, and now I can just focus on this one thing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a whole different mindset when you're not the guy standing up there singing. It is like it just feels like the stakes are so much less high.
Right.
But it was nice. I mean, for me as someone who I definitely wasn't fully realized as a songwriter at the time, and I didn't feel fully realized as a vocalist at the time either, it was really, really nice to have that kind of like safe space to really grow within the band. You know, while simultaneously having all these incredible, you know, we got to play festivals, and we got to play radio shows, and we got to, I mean, like I wouldn't be the producer I am today without the band experience, because we got to, get in the studio with all these amazing producers, and I got to annoy them endlessly with the stupidest questions of all time, and they would have to answer me in person, and so it was like the best way I could really even say it. It was like college for doing what I do today. Like I think even music schools, like they don't really teach you how to actually navigate this business, both emotionally, financially, creatively, and I, a lot of times learned the hard way, but I did end up learning, a lot of those skills that I'm grateful for today.
Yeah, that's the real education, right?
Yeah,
You know, that's why
definitely.
people, I tell them internships that's the best education you'll get in anything that you
Yeah.
really want to do. Of course, some things actually need degrees, so, can't discount school for that, but
Yeah, no, definitely. Degrees are cool and amazing for a lot of things, but at least for what I was trying to do. Yeah, I think it's kind of everyone needs to balance their like action and preparation. And I think for, in this business, action is a lot more important than preparation. Just start, just
yeah.
go. Just don't go. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and you'll learn along the way.
Yeah, I heard someone, I don't remember who it was recently, say that one of the most common traits of successful people is that they start things before they have all the answers, because they have faith in themselves that they'll figure it out as they go along.
Definitely. I think, yeah, if you look at the most successful companies, a lot of them, don't wait till they have 100% of the information to make the decision, because by the time that happens, everyone else also has it. So
Yeah,
you just gotta, go on your gut and just do what feels right. And I think of, maybe not immediately, but eventually you will be rewarded for that.
right.
Definitely.
So tell us about how you were playing in this band. You left school. You're like, I'm gonna go tour. You had a blast playing some drums with your friends. How'd you go from that to Alexander 23?
So the band was fun and incredibly informative, but it was not as successful as we, hoped it would be. And it became, clear that this was not going to be a sustainable way to support myself in any capacity, not just financially, just everywhere. We were having a lot of fun, but we weren't having the success that we needed to be having, and eventually got dropped by our label, and kind of really had to come together as a band and be like, we could push on and we could try and make this happen, or we could kind of stop now before it, gets ugly, and everyone can kind of pursue their individual aspirations. And that's what we ended up doing. And it was definitely the right decision. And everyone kind of went through our own way. And it's funny because now we kind of have all come back together in a different form. Like the guitar player is my manager. I ended up moving to bass in the band, and we got a new drummer, and he's still my drummer today. And the singer of the band is someone now I write with a bunch, and is like an incredibly good friend of mine. So it almost a lot of times feels like we're still in the band, but everyone's just a lot happier.
Yeah, it's like you guys kind of just reshuffled the deck and got a better hand.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about how did you write some songs, put them out, and then right away got, maybe lucky or chance mixed with preparation went the right way? Because multiple things have went very well for you very quickly, it seems like. So tell us a little bit about kind of those first steps that you guys had and the impact they had.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like I said, I started working with the guitar player in my band as a manager, and he's the best manager in the world. And I just knew that I wanted to go through this process with someone who I knew was both one of my best friends and would 100% just ream me out if I was being an idiot. And he is both of those things for me, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I was doing the songwriter production thing. I was in, 10 sessions a week, just trying to make anything work, trying to make any money I could to be able to have, a bigger launching pad for when I finally started making my own music again. And I just kind of realized like, hey, there's no guarantee anyone uses my production. There's no guarantee I ever have more money than I do at this exact second right now. Like, what am I really waiting for? Like, more than anything, I think I was scared. And once I kind of got over that, I was like, okay, you know, I'm canceling everything. I called Andrew, my manager. And I was like, let's do this. He's like, let's do this. You know, I started writing songs, and I put together a SoundCloud link of 3 songs. It was my song When I Die, my song Girl, and my song Dirty AF1s.
Mm-hmm.
And we had kind of sworn off labels just because our last experience wasn't totally positive. And so we were like, we're doing this independent. We don't need anyone. We know what we want to do. We know what we want to accomplish. And
Right.
that SoundCloud link ended up kind of spreading like wildfire. And, you know, extremely fortunately, and it was very flattering, and a lot of people and labels started showing interest, but it was also incredibly confusing because we were like, wait a minute, we just said we weren't going to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
We can't do this dance again. You know, we just got dropped after 2 years of a pretty tumultuous experience. But the more I kind of thought about it and reflected on it, the more I kind of realized that it's not really about the label or the distro partner. It's about the person. You know, it's about the person that you're going to be working with, and it's about, you know, how much they believe in you and how much you believe in them. And I just kind of was lucky enough to find the right fit, you know, with Interscope and with some of the people there.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I've heard that similar stories just along the way of people who, as soon as they stop trying to do something, it presents itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of that thing. I feel like it goes like that in careers, with people, in a lot of different ways. Not to say that you shouldn't try to pursue things, but sometimes when you actually let go of the pressure of trying to do one thing, just, you know, have the bigger goal still in mind, but
Yeah.
keep maybe some of those specifics out of the way, then you get what you maybe wanted from the beginning.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think for me, it's like the more I consciously fall in love with the process and just focus on the things I can control, the more the other stuff seems to work itself out.
So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about some of your other successes, and you know, I know we're a little short on time, but you had some sold out shows at the Moroccan Lounge. I love the Moroccan Lounge. I think it's one of the coolest you know, medium sized venues in LA. You've recently did a remix with Selena Gomez. You did Lollapalooza a couple of years ago now, but you also had it sounds like you're really working TikTok in the right way. So tell us a little bit about, you know, how some of the effects that these had on your guys's on your career.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I miss playing shows so much. It's, you know, before I was writing songs, I was playing shows. Like, you know, I think a lot of kids nowadays start with the productions and the records and then get to the live stuff. And it was the opposite for me. I started, you know, just playing shows with my friends. And so I desperately missed that, and I can't wait for it to come back. Um, it was very cool doing the remix for Selena. She's obviously a incredibly talented and smart and cool person. So that was an awesome experience. And then yeah, TikTok is crazy. I mean, it's a crazy thing. I think for me, the coolest thing was the kind of the way that my song was working on TikTok was really encouraging as a songwriter, being that like the thing that, you know, the original post that kind of started going crazy was literally just like a screenshot of my notes section and stuff. And it's a super visual app. So to get that, you know, response just from audio was really, really encouraging and made me feel like I was kind of on the right track.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I didn't know that about that initial video, because I feel like there's a lot of pressure on TikTok. I think that's why some people, you know, still haven't embraced it, because it's very much like you got to put yourself out there. You got to be more vulnerable. You got to do like a video or something like that. So the fact that you just,
No, it can be a lot. It can
yeah,
definitely be a lot, even like to this day. But I just try and approach it kind of like how I'd approach songwriting or posting on Instagram, of just like, hey, like the closer I can close the Venn diagram from like Alexander 23 and Alexander outside of this, the easier this is going to be for me. The more I can just be myself, you know, I'm willing to like live and die, you know, on the hill of being myself, you know.
yeah.
So regardless of if it works or it doesn't, at least at the end of the day, I get to say that, hey, I was just me, you know. I'm the one that failed, or I'm the one that had success.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point in the age of social media. You know, back 10, 20, 30 years ago, like mystery was like a big part of artistry, and it still is for some artists. You know, but you know, for some people, everything is a performance. You know what I mean? But there's
Definitely.
so many people who are using social media to its fullest advantages, and are doing it by partially just being themselves on a regular basis.
Definitely. Yeah, I find that too. I mean, the mystery definitely works for some people. I think for me, just as a human outside of music, and also just based on the type of music I write, like that just never really felt like an option. I was just like, I'm pretty much just detailing my life in these songs. Like you pretty much already know everything. I might as well just also be myself, you know, online. And
Yeah.
that's also allowed me to enjoy it. You know, I've artist friends who really, really don't like the online aspect of it. And I'd be lying if there weren't days where I agreed, but it also has allowed me to enjoy it in a super meaningful way as well.
And I don't want to give too much away, but you also have an EP dropping real soon. So do you want to maybe give us maybe a couple hints on what we could expect from that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm so excited for the CP to come out. I'm just gonna say the title. I hope I've announced it by now. It's called "Oh No, Not Again," and I think it's my effort of kind of chronicling an entire, you know, lifetime of a relationship in the modern age, from wanting someone to, you know, missing them, or you know, to, you know, a breakup, to post breakup, to like way after the breakup, reflecting back on it. And I'm excited for people to kind of get all, you know, the whole story all in one place. And I think, you know, production wise and musically, it shows a bunch of different sides of what I can do and what I aspire to, you know, do. And so I'm excited for people to hear it.
Yeah, we're excited to hear it too. Well, Alexander, it's been a real pleasure having you. Seems like you're doing everything right. So keep doing what you're doing, keep putting out the bangers. And if you wouldn't mind, we like to end each interview by asking if you had one piece of advice for aspiring artists, what would it be?
Ooh, I love this question. You want to know why I love this question really quick? Is because I think a lot of times y'all read an interview of an artist and they'll be like, how long did it take you to write this song? And they'll be like, oh, I wrote it in 5 minutes. You know, it's like,
Uh-huh.
that's not the whole story. Like you've been writing songs for 10 years. You've sucked for
Yeah.
so long. Like you know, maybe had a little voice memo. Like that's just not true. So uh, don't get discouraged by your heroes. Just stay inspired by them and learn how to take bits and pieces from different places and different people and apply them into your own vision and your own life.
Yeah, that 100%. And it goes back to what you were saying about, you know, we tend to just notice the highlights of the artists we love. We forget all the, you know, they're not posting the all that
Totally.
hard time that they had to put into
One
their
day
work.
maybe I'll post like my worst songs ever. Like,
Yeah,
like, hey, like, look, I'm terrible some days. Most days I'm terrible.
right.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, it's it reminds me of this meme too. It's kind of a meme, but it was I think it was for kind of graphic designers or designers or something. But it was like, if I am good enough to make you a great logo in, you know, an hour or something like that, the reason I charge you for more than an hour is because of the 10 years that it took me to get good
Yeah.
enough to make that in an
No,
hour or whatever, you know.
totally. No, it's very, very, very true. I mean that pretty much sums it up.
Bringing it backward.